to cut my meeting so that I can actually address this judgment. Jeremiah Nyegenye, the clerk of the Senate, took me to court on defamation claims. And in fact, this was the funny thing. The matter was brought to Parliament through him, because he's the one that pushed behind the scenes that it was brought to Parliament when I was absent. They discussed it in my absence. I responded when I was in New York through a video. He took the video, and that is the video that he took to say that he was defamed. Now, my claims are still on the table. I've written an official letter to Parliamentary Service Commission, to the chair of Parliamentary Service Commission, Mr. Wetangula, the Speaker of the National Assembly. They ignored my letter. I have complained within the powers that be in Senate, including to the Speaker. They have ignored all my complaints. I complained in the official WhatsApp group that, listen here, I think because I said I'm not going to sleep with this guy and I don't want to participate in his sexual advances, that is why I am being removed from certain trips, I'm being removed from certain legislative agenda. My bills are being put at the back. That is why I'm being targeted with unlawful and all sorts of crazy things and shenanigans, such as 6 months suspension. That is why also, as you can see, they forced me to put in an apology, which Jeremiah Nyegenye, through that committee that prepared, added his name. And remember when I was telling you people that this guy is going to use this thing in court, he went and used it in court as a submission. Now, I am a believer of the judicial system, and I do believe that as much as there are many legal loopholes that criminals to win cases, I do believe in the judicial system. That is why.
Welcome to my channel. So that was ousted nominated Senator Gloria Oroba responding to the court ruling that was issued on Tuesday, which requires her to pay 10 million shillings to Nyegenye, who happens to be the clerk to the Senate, for defaming his name. So let's just hear what else she had to say.
An appeal. I am going to appeal this judgment that has come out. I've had people saying, oh, 10 million, oh, when it rains, it pours, I don't know what. The machinery that is even being used to push this narrative is the UDA machinery that is actually supporting people like Jeremiah Nyegenye to continue with these things that they are doing in Parliament. Every single person that has worked in Parliament or has had an interaction in Parliament will tell you there is sexual harassment in Parliament. They will tell you they don't speak about it because this is what happens to you when you speak about it. So, and I mean, we are living the times where we have seen even politicians being put on platforms and being told to turn around so that we can see your behind. This is a culture that somebody has to say no to. And I know that there's a price to pay to say no to that. And I'm willing and ready and capable to pay the price, because I was raised as a person who does not exchange sexual favors for whatever. That is not how my father raised me. And anyone who has been in my space knows, in fact, wanasema unajiringa, unajifanya, but that is not who I am. And there are many girls and many women who are finding themselves in compromising situations. You saw how Sabina Chege, actually a woman of her stature and her age, just succumbed to turning around to show her behind, because that is how the powers that be force it. So I want to say this to Jeremiah Nyegenye and to the public that cares to listen. No one has investigated. No one has investigated ever since I put up and said, listen guys, this guy is punishing me for saying no. Not one single independent body or person has investigated and found that indeed Jeremiah Nyegenye is innocent. The only thing you have to do, even beyond investigations, as the public, why is the Senate refusing to put public the travel reports? Let Kenyans see who has been traveling, how much they have been using in the travel, how frequent they travel, who they travel with, and what that means to the taxpayers. Because the moment they put out the travel report, you will see Jeremiah Nyegenye in a plane every day with someone and someone and someone. And those are people who are playing ball. You will see the leadership of the house in a plane to wherever with constantly with certain people. You will see even the speaker of the house constantly in some travel with certain people. So that's the basic thing. So I know there's a price to be paid. But let me tell you something. I believe that God put me in Parliament for a reason. And evil will never win. So I am appealing. That is my position. I'm appealing in what has happened. I know that he used a legal loophole and now he's pushing UDA party machinery and minions left, right and center to push a narrative. But Jeremiah Nyegenye, there's no single investigation that has cleared you of sexual harassment. And that is the fact. And the Senate has not carried out any investigation. Do not lie to Kenyans. And Kenyans, ask for the travel report so that you can see how your billions of Kenya shillings is being spent in exchange of sexual favors and trips. Yeah, that's what I have to say about this.
Releasing that information on her social media pages, she addressed various media houses.
When I reported an issue of sexual harassment, and to be clear, what I reported is that I realized that my legislative agenda, I realized that my work in parliament, my activities in parliament, somehow they're being sabotaged and I'm having a difficult time. When I reflected on several things, I actually came to the conclusion that because I refused to participate in the sexual advances of the clerk of the Senate, Jeremiah Nyegenye, so many things which are in control, either through his office or by proxies, were happening to me. This is on record. I did a personal statement at the floor of the House. What you saw after that is a woman who was being persecuted for speaking up. You saw a suspension motion that was brought 2 times. The first time they brought it to the floor of the House, they realized that I was present, and so I would be accorded 20 minutes to defend myself. The whole House, that is the leadership of the House, the Speaker, everyone was aware that because I'm a person who speaks and I am very fearless, at that first motion, they decided it's probably a bad idea to try and suspend her when she's present, because her 20 minutes in the protected area in Parliament, she will spend it wisely and she will inform Kenyans of what is happening in this country. So what they did at that first motion, you will see the majority leader going on record saying that some of this dirty linen needs to be washed outside of the public spheres. And the majority leader, Aaron Cheriot, is on record saying that they are going to have conversations outside of the plenary, and that the matter, they assured me and they promised me that at the bare minimum, there will be investigations, and whatever it is that I was reporting will be looked into, and that there will be a conclusion where all parties will be able to take responsibility and move forward. That did not happen. As a matter of fact, the majority leader never picked my phone from that day until the next motion, which they basically made sure that I was absent, that I was not in Parliament. So I was in New York attending the Clinton Global Initiative. At that time, also, the president and the whole State House delegation was in New York. So even anyone who could have intervened and brought it to the powers that be that something is going wrong, everyone was busy in the US. That is when they brought the motion to suspend me based on the report that I put that, hey, listen, there's an administrator, a senior person in Parliament, who is actually making my work so difficult because I have refused to participate in his sexual advances. Because I was absent on that day, automatically my 20 minutes of right of reply was lost because I was not at the floor of the House. So what happened is they passed it very quickly and I was suspended. I was suspended in absentia. You will hear many people saying that she was accorded time to come before the Powers and Privilege Committee to defend herself and substantiate the claims. That is not what happened. I reported an incident where I'm being harassed and where I am being treated unfairly. And what happened is that they charged me. They actually took my report and charged me. They made it a charge. They said, we are charging Senator Oroba for disrespecting Parliament by alleging that there is sexual favors for legislative agenda. So that is not being accorded. That is being charged. And immediately after that, they prosecuted it by the motion. And immediately after that, I was suspended. We have been in this country, so you have lived through these events. I was suspended. Much later, because I put out a point to speak about this to the media, the majority leader called me and said he's going to broker a truce because they were afraid of the things that I was going to say. And they said, you know what, if you at least apologize to your colleagues who you have spoken ill of, we will reduce the suspension. You have seen me on record apologizing and saying, while I was seeking my justice, there are some of my colleagues who I might have rubbed the wrong way. I apologized to them. I said, I'm sorry, I was busy trying to seek justice, but in that way, I might have either come off aggressive or what, but I apologize. What you see after that is them reducing a sentence and bringing it down to, I don't know how many days. Within that reduction of the sentence of the suspension, I didn't know that I was not supposed to be paid a salary. I thought that when you're suspended, you're not paid a salary, right? So the next time you see me at the floor of the House, what is happening? They have prescribed an apology. The clerk was part of the team that sat down and prescribed the apology. That is why he inserted his name into the apology. And you see me at the floor of the House saying, no, I'm not going to read this apology because my legal team had already told me that the clerk wants that apology so that he can take the apology back to court and say, in fact, her allegations are false. She even apologized for it. And if you go to the court proceedings, which are public, you will see that the clerk indeed, even after I gave the disclaimer, he indeed took the apology and used it in court for proceedings that are ongoing, saying that the fact that she apologized to me it shows you that she was lying. That is not true. I have reported an incident of sexual harassment. To date, there is a letter to Parliamentary Service Commission. The chair of Parliamentary Service Commission is the Speaker of the National Assembly. The letter is out there. He chose not to act on it. At the bare minimum, in any workplace, at least an investigation must be conducted. I have been saying that if you think I'm lying, let the travel report of the Senate be released. Because then you will see that at the point when United Nations invited me to Brussels to the 53rd Assembly, the clerk gave an advisory that there is no money, yet there are people who are sent to the same forum. You will see this kind of shenanigans in terms of sex in exchange for trips, sexual favors in exchange for legislative agenda, sexual favors in exchange for all sorts of things, including office premises and locations. That is what I've been saying. Not one single entity has investigated this. I asked to be given the travel report, which is in the custody of the clerk of the Senate. He is the custodian of the evidence that will show you that there's a lot of favoritism towards certain senators. We are 16 nominated women senators in the Senate. We have 3 elected women senators. As the fourth estate, I challenge you to go and try and get data of how many of these people travel, how frequent they travel, why are they traveling, who is approving those trips. I challenge you to also go and find out all other kinds of favors, including why certain people, their bills are forever on the order paper, their bills and the legislative agenda is advanced, why certain people seem to have it easy in Parliament. I didn't want to take it there, but I respect the courts, I respect the judicial system. You are aware that the judgment of the defamation is out and that I have been fined 10 million for defaming the clerk of the Senate. I respect the judicial system. I know, because I am not new to the legal system, that there are many legal loopholes which criminals have been using to get these favorable judgments. Because they always say the law is on us, right? There are many legal loopholes. And I understand and I know the legal loophole that the clerk of the Senate used. He made sure that he will influence that my motion to suspend me would come when I'm absent. Because if I'm absent, he knew that I must speak the truth. And if I speak the truth when I'm not in Parliament, he knew that he could take that video and take it for defamation. That is exactly the legal loophole that he did. So his whole evidence is based on a video that I did in response to an already public engagement. It was already in Parliament being discussed that the clerk of the Senate is fighting with Senator Roba because Senator Roba has said that the clerk of the Senate, is making her life hell because he's not, I'm not playing ball. It was already in public through the parliamentary proceeding. He did not sue Parliament because he cannot sue Parliament. But he waited for me to respond because he knew that I had to respond, which I did. And that is the video that he took to take for the defamation. So I respect the process, the court proceedings. However, I don't agree with it. And that is why our country, we have an opportunity to appeal. So I have appealed.
Very day when the verdict dropped, her interview on Ikonini podcast was released, where she unearthed a lot of stuff about fellow politicians.
Angalia ceiling, lakini wewe mwenyewe umesema kuangalia
Hao watu
ceiling.
wanasema kazi yetu ni kulala na watu, my friend. Si hata wewe ulale na watu pia unumizi.
Hiyo unajua uliraisaje aje na ukaweza get your position, because I'm assuming a lot of people fight for these seats.
Oh yeah.
Because talking of politics, wacha tuanze na hii relation. So ukisema Matiang'i ni anko yako unamaanisha nini?
Kuna mali wanakanga base wakingojea the sun to come down. Maraga doesn't want to talk to them.
No, he does not want to talk to them.
No, he doesn't, because if by the time you have announced your candidature, we are almost clocking a year, na hujawafikia, you don't want to talk to them.
Okay.
When you see all
that's
other
fair
yeah
criticism.
Yeah.
That's
so
fair.
you want only
Maraga
lawyers so much. I wish you guys knew what they do in Senate.
Sifuna alifanya nini?
Unajua Herio Piondai na boys mwingine Mbadi, because then they just outrightly said, this is what I want, this is where I feel I can make a difference, plus who doesn't want to be a cabinet secretary. Kama kuna mtu, yani I think hata alikuwa nasikia ni kama shit, yani sijapata hiyo CS position, ni Sifuna. Nani alikwambia plane ticket hiyo ni cartel lingine. Kuna kwanga na service provider anauzanga hizo tiko 1.5M kwa ya business per person.
Enyewe mnachezaga na pesa yetu.
Wacha kusema mimi nilianza kuongea bado kitu, acha nikwambie. Yeah, obviously Ishungwa pia, lakini Ishungwa na kujiforce. Kuria anapendwa naturally.
Okay.
Kuria yake.
How Kenyans responded to her interview to various media houses. Somebody said, yeah, this is very sad. The way Farouk has been behaving with women publicly, it's enough evidence that what she's saying might be true. It is time to pay. The verdict is out, period. So this is somebody who is against Gloria. Sadly, women are not coming strong on this. They call it honorable house. Really? Is our parliament full of men and women of honor? I don't think so. It's definitely true. It is the only explanation as to how someone like Karen Nyamu found her way to Senate with absolutely nothing of value to offer Kenyans. Yeah, that's because a lot of people don't think highly of her. She should be a woman rep in Nairobi. We need this kind of representation for women. I believe Gloria until these men prove themselves otherwise. Gloria is telling the truth. First of all, she's a victim. Stay strong. And, under the Ikonini podcasts, this is how people responded. Real, raw and rare, the kind of conversations that we want. This was a very good feedback from Oroba. Maraga needs to go to the ground. She has enlightened us sana on the workings of government. And somebody said there, restore Kenya with Maraga and Omtata. Then somebody said, I've never respected this woman more than now. She's opening my eyes on some things I never thought about. Says, we need this lady here at least once per week. She brought many things to light. Thank you, Gloria. What an interesting, eye-opening conversation of what is happening behind the curtains. Looking forward to part 2. She communicates with clarity and wisdom. I'm beginning to love this woman. She's proving me wrong. Wow, we have no country here, thanks to Gloria Oroba. Gloria is fire, no chills, eye-opener conversation. I really hated her before, but after listening to this interview, I can authoritatively say she is a gem. This is one of the best interviews this year. Gloria, you have enlightened Mwaf Job Safi. I think every generation of politicians has a bold woman who speaks out. Gloria is in her season. I love this girl Oroba because she's real. She's talking the real truth and nothing but the truth. In UDA and Senate, Gloria is very sober today. I like her courage. She's the only woman who has spoken against harassment and other ills in Kenyan high offices, as socialites like Karen continue getting paid for twerking and other disgusting activities. You ask me about Gloria, I am one of the people who used to think she's just a drama queen, but after listening to her, I've changed my opinion about her. And I now understand why she has been taking drastic measures. Like, you remember, there's a time she appeared in the Senate with stained white trousers. It was some red fluid, I don't know whether it was blood, but she was trying to drive home her agenda on which caused the government to allocate more money towards tackling menstrual poverty. Issue with the clerk to the Senate, I must say I'm very disappointed that in 2025 we are dealing with such issues. And to make matters worse, this type of harassment is taking place where laws of the country are made. So I hope that matter is going to be resolved accordingly, and the outcome is going to deter would-be perpetrators. So just chime in the comment section below what your thoughts are. Like and share this video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. By the way, I'm going to link all the relevant videos from Ikonini and the press Gloria did below if you want to know more about her. So bye for now.